Good morning, students. Today we will start with Unit 3, that is Media Ownership, in the course Media Management. Okay, so just a quick recap of what we have seen in this media management for past two units. In the Unit 1, we have seen that introduction to media management, some principles of management, concept and meaning, and from definitions of management, and the management principles pertaining towards the media and the objectives of media management, and have seen few models of media management. And in the Unit 2, we little bit we got into the knowing the technicalities of media management, especially with reference to the economic terms. So the media economics, the media market, types of media markets, and what is media price, now what is media cost, or how to understand the media cost and revenue, the price and output is determined by what ways, what means. So what are the different types of media markets, and under the different types of media markets, how this price has been determined. So that is up to the Unit 2 Media Economics. And now we will get into the Unit 3, which is the last unit in this course, Media Management, which is Media Ownership. So today session, what we are going to see is just an introduction about the media ownership. So after completion of this session, we'll be knowing about the media ownership, the pluralist theory of media ownership, the theories behind media ownership, and the factors that affect the nature of media ownership. So this will be an introductory class for knowing the idea behind the concept behind the media ownership, why that is much important to study. So the ownership pattern of media is very important, which will help you to know about the media organizations and help you to management, the trends and patterns in the ownership, which controls the range of mass media. The theoretical perspective will help you to know the relationship between the ownership and the control of the media. So with this brief introduction, we'll get into the today's session. So media companies are profit-making businesses. That is of no doubt. No, we are very much clear from what we have seen in the previous earlier classes. Mass media, you're taking it as any mass media, it's a media as a business. So with no doubt, media companies are profit-making businesses. Those who commission and plan programs for this media business or decide this newspaper or magazine content, usually they have to play very safe by excluding anything, because the media is directly depend on the readers and the viewers. So whatever the content that they select, no, that should not offend or upset the readers or viewers, especially with reference to magazines or newspapers or the television content. So when coming to media business, it's a profit making business. So the media person should not offend the or upset the readers or viewers, and no media company would like to lose its revenue and profit by losing its readers or viewers, because they were offended by extreme views. So that is the difference between all other all other products and the media product, what we call it as media content. Here the readers and viewers should not get offended, so will take utmost care and they play safe for delivering the media content with mass media as being a social responsibility, where the people working in the media are the journalists who are all responsible persons towards the society. And here the factor comes to the owner. So media ownership, how a ownership has to be. So if you see the perspective as a ownership and media as a business, no media company would like to lose its revenue. So it is both way, not to lose the what you say, the readers or viewers by offending content or upsetting content, putting publishing upsetting content, and also the same way you should not lose the revenue and profit, because it's a business. So For this we need some sort of what you say understanding as a basic understanding of this pluralistic theory of media ownership, which will help you for deciding over the patterns of media ownership. The pluralists argue that the media owners are responsible for the ways of handling information. So as we say, the gatekeeper, it's the gate, the editor is responsible and is the gatekeeper for in any media organization. Here, what the theory says, they believe and they argue that media owners are responsible for their ways of handling the information, because media content is mainly shaped by, you see, this media, or is the media content is mainly shaped by the consumer demand. So what the consumer demand is going to be the media content. So media owners are 100% responsible for handling the information in the marketplace by the consumer demand. So they therefore only give the buying public what they want. What the public want has to be produced in the media. Moreover, the people who are involved in the process of producing and delivering the content, like editors, journalists, and broadcasters, have a strong sense of professional ethics, which act as a system of checks and controls on potential owner abuse of media. So when it comes to consumer demand, here the clash between there is a clash between the editors, journalists, broadcasters, who are the professionals. They want to maintain the strong sense of professional ethics, which acts as a system of checks and controls on the usage of media, between the abuse of media by the potential owner. So any owner should not abuse the media. So here is the mostly the class comes. So the consumer demand matters, and the editors and journalists who work will see to the professional ethics in the system of delivering the media content. And the second, the theory of media ownership revolves around the mass media are an essential part of the democratic process. So mass media are it's an essential part of the democratic process, because the electorate today get most of the knowledge and the political process from the newspaper and television. You people have experienced the recent elections and in the electoral campaigns. The newspapers and television plays a major role. So here the mass media are an essential part of the democratic process. They are also of the opinion that owners, editors, and journalists are trustworthy managers and protectors of this process. So the audience or the viewers or the readers should have a belief and the opinion that the media owners, the editors of the newspapers, and the journalists who are working are trustworthy managers and protectors of this process. So it's a democratic process. Consumer demand, where the owner will more focus on what the readers or viewers want, where the editors and journalists will look on to the checks and controls of the potential abuse of media by the owners. Here it's a democratic process. So furthermore, pluralists argue that media audience are the real power holders. Media audience are the real power holders, because they can exercise the right to buy or not to buy, because it's a competitive world. It's not like those olden days, like monopoly media from our government media. Now it's a oligopolistic, and many media things are there. So the argument here is media audiences are the real powerful audiences, power holders, because they can exercise right to buy, or because they have the freedom to buy or not to buy. If they did not like the choices that the media owners are making available to them, no, if they suspect that particular channel or particular newspaper was biased, such audience would respond by not buying the newspaper or not watching the particular channel, broadcasting channel. So here the audience has the power. They are the power holders to decide to buy or not to buy. So once they have a doubt that media owners are making available to not the choices available to them, or if they suspect that the media product was biased, so they won't respond by not buying the product. So the media therefore supply what the audience wants, rather than what the owner decides, not the owner decides. If some viewpoints have a greater range of media representing, no, this is not necessarily biased. So at any point of any moment of time, the audience should not get that sort of suspicion that this particular media was biased. So it reflects what the audience wants to or views as important. Pluralists again argue the fourth factor of the pluralist argument for media ownership is concentration of ownership is a product of economic rationality, because rather than political or these motives, it is driven by the need to keep cost low and to maximize profits, because it's a business involves in the economic concept. So it has to keep as much cost low and to maximize the profits. It is driven by the need to cost low. So because of globalization also results from the need to find new audiences rather than from cultural imperialism. So it's not like a cultural imperialism. The globalization has made an economic rationality where the owners has to consider as an important factor in the media ownership pattern. So the power of media owner is also restricted by state or government controls. So some societies owners are not allowed too much in media. So there are different types of media. When taking radio also, commercial FM radios are there, community radios are there, all India radio is there. So when coming to television channels, some commercial channels are there, general entertainment channels are there, and 24 hours news channels, dedicated news channels, and specialized channels are there. So each and every, these power of media owners is restricted by the state or government controls. So many countries also have the cross ownership rules for having the control over the ownership of media. Further, newspaper and television have a legal controls imposed by the press council. In certain countries, the media has been imposed by some legal controls also. For example, in Britain, like that. So the pluralist theory of media ownership, what it says is the owner will look after the consumer demand, and it's a democratic process where we have to, the journalist editors will have to take care, and the audience are more powerful. So what the audience want has to be provided, and to take it as a business, it's an economic rationality has to be there. So this is the argument or the perspective of the pluralist view of the media ownership. And then coming to the theories of media ownership, the examination of ownership and control pattern is important for two reasons that was given by. One, it will help to understand the points of view to be heard, the society, that is, it has to be truly democratic. So the theories listed out here are all, you have already gone through this theory, how these theories can see the media ownership. That's what we'll be seeing. So free media kept abuses of power and influence by the elites under check. So the factors that affect the nature of media ownership are based on the explanation of these theories. So first we will just understand the normative. There are four normative theories, and later Dennis McWell added two more theories to the existing set of these four theories. So the authoritarian theory, free press theory, social responsibility theory, communist media theory, development communication theory, and democratic participant media theory. So these theories also will have a view or control over the media ownership and control. Now we will see the theories in a brief, which will help to understand what affects the ownership patterns of media in different countries in different way. For example, if you take authoritarian theory, here the press is under the state power or ruling class. The chief function is to propagate what the owner wants to establish and sustain his rule. So the message or the media content is disseminated to the audience suitable according to the owner. Other opinions can barely reach the people at last. So that is the name itself. It says the authority. In authoritarian theory, the press is under the state power or the ruling class. Next, the free press theory. It's known as the free press libertarian theory. Here, the press is owned by both private and public organization. The major function is to let many voices and views find their ways for public consumption. The fundamental right of each and every citizen are safeguarded is believed in this free press theory, where the ownership is given to both private and public organization from this free press theory concept. So the third one, social responsibility theory. So social responsibility theory of mass media is a new concept. Then when it was developed in the normative theories of press, it started in the mid 20th century, used mostly by developing and the least developed countries. The theory started from Europe and took a shape the freedom of press in the United States in 1940. So was designed by some few journalists. It encouraged the total freedom and no censorship. So social responsibility. The press is supposed to be owned privately. The government does not own the press. The private owners should publish within the ethical guidelines. So here, the press can be owned privately, and government should not have any control over the government should not own the press. Private owners can publish the media content with the ethical guidelines and in a responsible way. So that's why it's a social responsibility theory. So it helps democracy proper as the media helps in the maintaining the democracy and giving the voice from the even from the society. The chief function is to all national voices and views. Interest finds ways of accurate expression in the social responsibility theory. And the one more theory in the normative theory of press is the communist media theory. This is also known as Soviet media theory. So Russian media was reorganized around this theory. Excuse me. The Russian media was organized with this theory. A major function is to support the policies of development by the government. No. It's Russian media organized this theory. This theory is derived from the basic tenets of principles by the Marx and Engels. So media, as per this theory, subject to interferences in case of authoritarian theory. The chief function is to safeguard and propagate the interests of the working class. So that is the chief function of the communist media theory. So to propagate, to safeguard and propagate the interests of the working class. Society moves in one direction to achieve a certain set of values. So the ultimate function of a Soviet media theory, that is the communist media theory, is to safeguard and propagate the interest of the working class people. So the fifth one is the development communication theory. Here the state is usually the owner of the press. The major function is to support the policies of development by the government. So, for example, any other media, government media, they will be propagating the policies of development made by the government in the media. So, the limited resources are better utilized for nation building. So, that is the concept of this development. Behind this development communication theory, the freedom of press and journalists is curbed to an extent because of the government owned media. So the last one is the democratic participant media theory. Here the press is owned by state and private organization. It's a multiplicity of media communication at all levels. It encourages all levels of even small scale operation of media. So people may have a better chance to interact more or with local and relevant issues. And theories can substantiate. This theory is weakened by the national fabrics because the democratic participant media theory, where the media is owned by the state and even private organization, which encourage this small scale operation of media. So the background for this theories will help you to understand the concept of media ownership and different media pattern. So as I said, no, the first four normative theories of press: authoritarian theory, free press theory, social responsibility, and communist media theory. And later, these two development communication and democratic participant theory was added by the Seibert et al. So these theories of media ownership will help you to understand the different ownership pattern and what the pluralists argue to have a media ownership and control. So in later classes, we will be reading the different types of media ownership, different patterns of media ownership, and the concept of ownership with the different media markets, different media and different as example the uh, newspapers, television channels, and now the recent OTT, how the different media has been controlled with the state government and state and the government. So what are the controlling factors that take part to the control this media ownership. With this short introduction, we will stop here about for an introduction of media ownership. We will see in detail about different types of ownership, concept of ownership, everything in the future later classes. And if you have any doubts, you can ask.